everybody. Oh, you look fantastic. There I go talking to myself again. So you ever notice how lefty politicians never concern themselves with threats until they're the target? I refer to police defunder New York City Councilwoman Tiffany Caban. Now, Caban's dad was an elevator mechanic, so it's not clear why hers doesn't go all the way to the top. But last week, she urged businesses not to dial 911 when faced with criminal activity. That's great advice, Tiffany. Who should they call? Domino's and hope the delivery guy is packing heat? Maybe you can scald the mugger with hot cheese. Days before a ghoul stabbed a veteran EMT worker to death, Caban released a public safety guide urging merchants to call 311, not 911, to seek mental health services and engage in community mediation rather than call the cops. That'll work. 311, what's your emergency? Yeah, my store is being bum rushed by 100 juvenile delinquents and they're destroying the place. Could you get a psychologist out here to talk to them pronto? They advise merchants to give the person causing harm the chance to correct their behavior. Say no, stop, or that is not okay. So you're supposed to say the same thing to a guy robbing you at gunpoint as a girl says to a guy trying to get to second base on a first date. You'd be better off offering him a Cinnabon and a hand job. Oddly, they do go together.
Oh, God.
The guide also suggests asking the attacker if you guys went to high school together. Yes, please stop stabbing for a second so I can get my high school yearbook. I think you sat behind me in history. Now, you'd think someone this nuts would know that you can't reason with crazy people. But that's her suggestion rather than calling the cops. Well, guess who called the cops yesterday? Tiffany Caban. Now, she claims she didn't call 911, probably because, she forgot the number. But after receiving threatening phone calls, likely over her bad ideas, she or her staff contacted the authorities. Man, if this isn't irony defined. I wonder how that call went. 54th Precinct, Sergeant Jones speaking. You'll never guess who this is. It's Councilwoman Tiffany Hello? Hello? True, it appears the only justice that she's a part of is poetic. Now, I'm willing to bet she didn't reference that guide when these threats came through, which is a shame. I mean, how would they know threatening people is bad if she didn't tell them it's not okay? I bet she didn't seek out a mental health pro either, or even give the callers a chance to correct their behavior, or just hang up. I bet she didn't call 311 either because they would tell her to call the cops. So this is a pisser. She tells victims who, unlike her, are face-to-face with actual physical threats not to call the cops, but that's what she or her staff did with voicemails. Honestly, who dresses this dumb broad in the morning and packs her Wonder Woman lunchbox? Now, make no mistake, the threats to her are bad. As my mother often said, an eye for an eye doesn't work, especially when you're dealing with a person who's already blind as my mother had a mouth on her. But she was right. People are getting murdered, robbed, and raped, and she's out offering brochures. And then she gets a threat, and now she's the victim. So she calls the cops, something she doesn't want for you, because if you call them, it's proof that the cops are 100% necessary in this effed up world that people who think like her had created in the first place. But she's no different than the other defunders, like Cori Bush, who wants cops off the streets as vulnerable citizens pay thousands for her own private security. Just as Democrats deny her pro-perp ideology, Cori won't.
Suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives. I'm saying let's demilitarize the police. I'm saying let's not use money for SWAT gear. Let's not use money to buy the big MRAPs. The thing about defund the police is we have to tell the entire narrative. People hear defund the police, but you know what they'll say? Say reallocate, say divest, say move, but it's still the same thing.
If you could do it again, would you still double down or use that slogan, defund the police?
Absolutely.
You would?
Absolutely.
Wow, it's like Don is interviewing his replacement. So, why are so many women in power ignoring women in peril? It seems murder victims only matter if the perp used the wrong pronoun. But when you look at the crime stats, male-on-female violence numbers are far outweighing the reverse. And it's getting worse, especially with rape. And yet, where is AOC or her progressive ilk? You know, they will gladly tell you about the threats against their lives, the online hate, the voicemails, and who can forget AOC narrowly escaping death when a bunch of white people with the average age of 55 came within a half mile of her office on one day. They want to sick the feds on the people when their feelings are hurt, but when it comes to protecting other women from real physical harm, they don't give a damn. When one woman got viciously beaten by a psychopath in Caban's borough, she tweeted, "Subway violence is a 1 in a million event." She literally turned a victim into a statistic, and an incorrect one by far. Here's a real stat. Serious crimes rose 35.6% over last summer's recent highs. That's incredible. But that stat doesn't matter because it's probably racist. I mean, violence against women can't matter if the perpetrator can also claim some form of victimhood. Unless it happens to her, of course, on email, social media, or by phone. And so now there are more minority victims, thanks to Democrats. And it's left-wing women who champion it like their lives didn't depend on it. So good luck on the subway, girls. The next time you're attacked by a knife-wielding thug, just ask who they had for gym class. Welcome. Tonight's guest. She's so sharp you can carve a pumpkin with her. Former State Department spokeswoman and founder of Polaris National Security, Morgan Ortega. He's more than an actor who plays tough guys, and if you disagree, he'll kick your ass. Actor, singer, and director Robert Davi. The skeletons in her closet keep her high in calcium. Fox News contributor, Kat Tim. And the boogeyman has nightmares about him. My massive sidekick in the NWA World Television Champion, Tyrus. Morgan, you look fantastic. Yeah. It's like disco Easter.
Totally the vibe I was going for. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Travolta and an Easter bunny mated. And then threw up. Anyway, I digress. You know what kills me about these politicians? They expect us to adopt their belief system even when they reject theirs. Why should we, why can't we call the police if she can call the police?
It makes no sense, clearly. It makes no sense to most of the people in the country who, other than inflation, crime is a huge issue for them. My favorite thing about this whole segment is that the Congresswoman Cori Bush said on the interview, essentially, let's not get caught up in words. Well, that's kind of like the whole point of being in Congress, right? Yeah, the whole point is to write legislation and to get caught up in the words. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's part of it's funny because it's so ridiculous. But when you start to think about the number of people, as you said, that are affected by crime in major cities around the country, people are making decisions and moving, based off of these statistics. It has real world impact.
Yeah, where are they going to move, right? Yeah. New York's the place to be.
Yeah. Only 6 states.
You got theater. You got theater, all these great restaurants. Who cares if you get violently assaulted? You got to see Pippin. That's my only musical reference is Pippin. Because I've never seen a musical in my life except in high school, and I hated every minute of it. Robert, congrats on the movie. My son Hunter's doing great. You directed it.
Yep.
I'm very happy for you. We'll talk about it later. I brought this up a couple of days ago on this very show that, like, it feels like life in New York or in a lot of cities are beginning to mimic movies that were dystopian crime dramas, or things like Batman, where the villains are crazy. Yeah. It's like, how do you make anything worse than how reality is if you're making a movie? As the person who starred in Maniac Cop 2
and 3.
You were in Maniac Cop 3
and 3.
I didn't see 3. I saw 1 and 2.
3 is good.
Is he still Maniac?
He's a maniac, but less of one.
Yes. Has he become a good guy?
No, not yet.
Okay, good.
Well, he kind of does. He gets married and a whole bunch of... It's like the Bride of Frankenstein all of a sudden.
So what do you think is going on?
I think that we're in a very difficult time. Look, I'm a kid of the 50s. I was born in Astoria, Queens, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Where this Caban has her precinct.
Right.
And I left New York in the late 70s because I was coming out of a macrobiotic restaurant on 3rd Avenue, and I made a left, and I heard a gunshot, and the guy coming out after me was lying on the floor.
No. Wow.
And that made me say, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. 45 years in L.A. Yeah. I just moved to Tampa Bay, Florida. I got the hurricane. Now, the one thing about this is, for me, when I grew up, there was a code of honor in the cities.
Yeah.
The mafia, good, bad, or indifferent, was interesting because they didn't want drugs.
Right.
So if the mafia was still around, there'd be no fentanyl.
Yeah.
And there'd be no crime. There'd be less crime in the neighborhoods.
Except their crime.
Except their crime, but they kept it to themselves.
I don't think
I don't say that's the answer.
I wonder, though, I don't think you'd have any mob violence in a macrobiotic restaurant. That's going to stick with me. I don't care what you say. You went to a macrobiotic restaurant. Cat, that's the crime. Forget everything he said. He went to a macrobiotic. Who goes to a macrobiotic restaurant? You deserve to be shot, young man.
I'm not sure what that is. My favorite part of this what to do instead of call the cops guide was the part that said, try to use I and we statements. What does that look like?
Yeah.
I feel sad when I am getting stabbed. We feel uncomfortable when we have a gun in our face. Like, I don't think you should be calling the cops for every little thing, but the whole section about what to do if you're around an escalating, situation, conflict, doesn't even mention the possibility that you might ever need to call the cops at all. There was this part that said, repeat the same statement until the person causing harm corrects their behavior or stops. For example, have a good day. That's what it said. Like, oh yeah, you don't need a gun. You have all those have a good days in your arsenal. Like, it's crazy. And what's even crazier is that the have a good day part's not even the craziest part. It's the until part. It just all assumes that if you do this stuff, they're gonna be like, never mind, and then go away. That's not gonna be the case, I would say, most of the time.
That's true.
If not all of the time.
It'd be great to say have a good day while you're pointing a gun into their forehead.
It's always nice to yell have a good day while they're stabbing you.
Right.
It used to be, go ahead, make my day.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we need more of that.
So, in another life, when I was a school teacher and I worked with developmentally challenged children, this is the same handbook.
Yeah.
They would say, use I statements to get the child's attention.
That's true.
Repeat yourself in case they don't listen. And even then, the little bastards didn't listen. So you think your Head Start Blue Book that they threw out, the only thing you didn't see here is having to use basket restraints, because that's chapter, when all else fails, when the I's and we's don't, restrain child until help comes along. So that's the only part they left off. And I laugh. You mentioned it, words. The entire woke revolution is about words. People lose their livelihoods because they use the wrong word. You can't say that. You can't do that. Anything you say hurts me. Words matter. But when you come at them, it's not about words.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I thought words were the violence.
Yeah, my pronoun is what the f.
On that note, that's funny. That's a T-shirt. My pronoun is what the F. I would definitely wear that to Disco Easter. And you would be my date, Morgan. Disco Easter with Morgan Ortegas.
I'm Jewish, though.
Two
so that's
clicks
the
and you could be
problem in
home.
all of
Are you
this.
Jewish? Does that matter with Easter? I don't know.
I mean, the whole thing's about killing Christ.
Oh, that's
so
right. That's right. By the way, one of O'Reilly's
Kind
great
of a
books.
problem.
All right, we got to move on. Stop pumping up O'Reilly's books.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.